Let's start with just sitting comfortably and supported, so that you just remind yourself of how that actually feels, what that actually means to feel that you're able to sit upright without having to strain or stiffen up, feeling in muscles and tendons, being able to release, your shoulders drop in and so on. And what we want to be able to do is to eventually get to a point where we can take this feeling forwards a bit, so we're not having to rely on the chair so much. Give us a sense of how our bodies are capable of supporting themselves, but we have to have some kind of sense of what that means first. So just rubbing your hands together and tapping over your face. Over your head and neck. Down to one shoulder and your arm. Feeling the gentle vibration of the muscles in that area as you do. On the other side. And then coming to the upper part of the chest. Down to your belly. And finally your legs. So always take care when you're coming into the movements and the postures. And I always try and make it clear why we're doing something in a particular way, and that way hopefully you can sort of map out a route from where you are to that point, rather than forcing yourself into a posture that may not be quite right for you at this point. Ideally what we want is to have our weight forwards and to tilt forward slightly. This puts some of our weight, about a third of our weight, in our feet, and it brings our head and our centre of gravity, the majority of our weight, into that space between feet and hips. So this is the first sort of point of support from feet and hips. Secondly, particularly when we're angling forwards, we can feel that our back and spine can support the front of our body. So this is an encouragement to release tightness and stiffness in our belly, in our solar plexus, in our chest, maybe a slight sense of your rib cage dropping, your shoulders dropping. Excuse me. And as we do this, a growing awareness, subtle awareness of how our skeleton and the surrounding skeletal muscle and tissues actually support us from inside. And again, this is an encouragement to release tightness and stiffness in our bodies as our confidence in that begins to grow. And these are things that we want to keep aware of in the back of our minds as we go through the different movements, that your body can begin to support itself. But this is one of the things that we have to practice to cultivate, to give the body a chance to condition to this idea, because quite often our starting point is that maybe we're very tight in our back or whatever. And so when we release that tightness, other parts of the body begin to engage that are often underused. So those other parts do need time to build up. And just getting the feeling for what we might think of as the characteristics, literally the feel for these postures. One of the qualities that I always feel is important here is that there's a sense of space in bodies. And with that space, then it's an encouragement for movement. And this whole process involves bringing your attention and your intention more deeply into your body, with the associated sense of stillness, of calmness, quietness that we begin to learn is very much a characteristic of the movements. So then just slowly turning your head. So how we move becomes important. Try not to tense up, to stiffen up in order to move. And that can be quite tricky, particularly with some of the movements that we do. And then bring your hands in front of your shoulders and push them forwards. Let your arms, your elbows swing over. Paying attention to what's happening when you do this movement, we begin to realise it's not just to do with the shoulders, the chest, upper back and sides are all moving. And so one of the ways that we reduce the strain of movement is through this recognition, just noting that any given part of the body is supported by other parts of the body in movement. So less strain, say, for instance, in this case, in your shoulders. Going forwards. So these opening exercises, they are of course good for the joints, to mobilise the joints, but they're also good for beginning to develop an awareness of some really key principles that we work with in Tai Chi. Hands down to your sides and rotating your arms. Again, you may notice a change in chest and upper back, a lot more subtle with this one. But as you turn your hands palm forwards, you may experience a sort of opening across your chest. And then when that begins to contract, which it will do quite naturally, that helps to bring your hands around and you end up with the palms of your hands facing backwards. There's the opposite movement in your upper back between your shoulder blades, which slide apart and get drawn together. And then raising your arms and winding around. And back the other way. Hands rest. Bringing your attention to the centre part of your body, hips, pelvis, waist. Just tilt forward slightly. This is a movement from the pelvis, rolling forwards a little bit, more of your weight going into your legs, and then releasing that compression in your legs and feeling how your shoulders get pushed back up. So if we really want to get a sense of our whole body connected as one unit, a good place to sort of settle our attention and to move from is this central part of the body. The image is sometimes used, it's like the hub of a wheel. If you turn the hub of a wheel, then the whole wheel will turn. Feeling your weight filling up in your legs, and then back in hips and lower back, and that same sense of compression and release there, a little bit more subtle. So we start to get this pulsing movement, this energy rising through this, sinking into the chair, sinking into the floor, filling the whole of the body, and establishing a nice steady rhythm, a steady pulse that underpins everything else that we do. And you may find that things like your breathing just naturally begin to harmonise with this rhythm. Turn in the centre of your body a little bit, go forwards, and you'll find that your weight is now going more towards one leg. So not only does the centre of the body connect the body, but actually it steers the body in particular directions, steers the flow of the energy in a particular direction. And then the other way. And then from the forward position, turn in, so you swing across to the opposite foot and back to the centre. Nice and smooth. Feeling in your lower back, almost as though that area will be very gently massaged. Change direction. Coming back to the centre, and then step out with one foot. Put your heel down, lower the ball of your foot, your knees still bent, and just gently push the foot into the floor, plant it. Pulling back, and then push out again. This time, listen your weight roll in afterwards, filling up the leg. And again, a little push back from both feet. Also a slight sense of a pull from your hips. So come into the upright position. Now engages like three parts of the body. The extended leg, the leg that's flat on the floor, and your hips dropping back. Changing sides. And so again, we've managed to spread the load, spread the effort of maintaining an upright stance. Step in, moving your weight. And then alternating from side to side. One more round. And bring your feet back. So coming back to resting. So these are qualities that we want to bring into the main body of movements. The tricky thing is that now that we're getting into some cases quite complex exercises, these things that we've just been looking at are easily lost. What we want is to practice them until they just sit in the background of our attention. I sometimes describe these collective principles of mind, body and energy as being a bit like your shoelaces. We don't walk down the road checking our shoelaces at every step, and yet if our shoelaces come undone, we know straight away that we've got to bend down and tie them up again. So that that awareness, that sensitivity to these qualities gradually builds. Now letting your arms drop down again, slightly out from your hips, turn your hands palm forwards, and this time rotating the arms as you move your weight forwards. So feeling the movement from soles of your foot, from your hips, into your upper body. This is called bird folds its wings because of the effect this has on the big muscles in your chest. This time from the forward position with the palms of your hands facing back. Coming back, just letting your arms swing down and through. Fisherman castanet. Try not to lead with your arms. I'll show you from the side. I can only show with one hand, but that's enough. Notice that my arms are behind my shoulders until I settle into my feet. And then they swing through. And then going back, the same thing. Settle into my hips. And then the arms swing through. So it's not this followed by the shoulders. The progression of the movement is from feet and hips, those parts of the body that are connected to the ground, through the center of your body. Remember the center of the body, guide the movement. Up through your back and your upper body, where you begin to notice patterns of movement. And then finally reaching your arms and your hands. So fisherman cast a net. This time leaving your hands out in front, coming back. Notice how your arms get drawn over. Just rolling the ball. So our arms are following what's happening in our body, the movement of our weight from front to back and back to front, the change in angle of our upper body, and again more subtly this sense of that underlying pulse that we noted before, as it's sourced in that releasing into our legs, feeling the compression of the legs, and then doing the same thing, lower back, hips and buttocks, and the releasing movement produces the energy that expands up through belly, solar plexus and into our chest, and rises up underneath our arms like a wave lifting our arms. So our arms and hands become very quiet. They follow the movement. They express the movement. This time, coming back to the upright, turning your hands inwards, drawing your elbows apart again, opening up, expanding in the front of your body, and then pressing it, going forwards. This pigeon spreads its wings. One more time. Some as you sit back, let your hands come in towards your hips, your elbows will go out a little bit again, expanding in the chest, and then turn your hands and pressing forward through the heel of your palm. Combining this with the stepping that we did earlier, so turning to one side, and then making sure that your foot's properly in position and planted before you commit your weight. Noticing that there's often a very strong temptation to moving your arms and your upper body first. So there's a very subtle change of perspective begins to take place here. We'll become more aware of our feet, our hips, what's happening in our legs, without losing, obviously, an awareness of what's happening in the upper body. But there's a sort of rebalancing effect there, because most of us, most of the time, pay more attention to upper body and arms. One more on each side. And then facing forwards again, rolling your fingers into a hollow fist, pushing forwards and rotating your arms. So no further than at the back, where your hands would be palm up if you had your fingers open, to the forward position where they'd be palm down. And so it's quite a small rotation, but can be quite stiff, particularly with the fingers curled in. Try not to hold your fingers tightly. This time, when you've turned your hands, uncurl your fingers, turn them out a little bit more, winding back. Again, expansion, chest, and then upper back, and then the press forward again. Now this time from the rear position, turn your hands palm down, turn in that centre part of your body and then rolling forwards. Turn again, swinging your arms across, polishing the table. Back the other way. Nice and smooth, feeling the extension from the hips up through your back and then gently out through the shoulders and into your arms and the fingers and then contracting back. And then just let your hands rest. Turn them palm up, cradle them as though you've got a ball in your arms. Just see if you can get that feeling of sinking through your hips, through your feet. You know, that feeling that I describe as compression that goes with that, which then starts to push back. And again, we get that wave-like energy coming up through belly, so solar plexus and chest, expanding your body, pushing your elbows out, and then turn and press down. So the connection downwards into the ground is one of the most crucial ones that we look to cultivate. So this exercise is called rooting down because it's initiated with that drop-in movement down into the ground, the rooting. Now, rotating your arms so your fingers point away, the same expansion but now pushing your arms away, observing how they spring up. Try not to stiffen up in your elbows. And then easing forwards, letting your hands cross in front of your belly. Roll back into the chair, let your hips sink, and then the push up, this time pushing your arms around in a nice smooth circle. This is parting the clouds. So we may find an image often associated with the name that enhances the movement. For me, there's images of the clouds parting and the sun shining through. But try not to get stuck on a particular image. Don't let it distract you from an awareness of the movements that you're making. One more time. Staying back, let your hands drop right down. Feel how heavy again your arms are. Try not to strain in your shoulders, and the same rising movement from feet and hips, pushing your elbow up, that draws your fingers up, extending through that side of your body and then contracting slowly. This is dragon plucks the stars from the sky. And then repeating that on the other side, winding your arm around, pulling down. Taking a moment in between each stage, feel yourself settling again, hips dropping, a little bit of your weight forwards in your feet. So even if we've lost some of those qualities that we're aspiring to in some of the exercises, there are these little moments when we can develop the idea to come back to them in one way or another, often quite intuitively. One more time. Now, back to using both hands. Just resting, try and feel that the inside of your arm somewhere can rest gently on the outside of your hips, and then feeling the expansion in your back, pushing your arms up, so you're pushing up to push your palms of your hands into a low ceiling, and then back down, taking a moment to just bring the inside of your arms lightly touch the side of your hips, and then pushing out sideways. And there's a moment or two, once again, when the arms come back to this resting position where again we feel our hips sinking down into the chair, the alignment of our upper body. And that becomes a little bit automatic. Again, it's like tying your shoelaces. If you do walk down the road and you realise your shoelaces are undone, you just bend down and do them up again. It's very simple. Most of us are capable of that. But we've developed that capability by practicing it, so that we don't really have the sort of necessity to strain, but expanding, contracting, pushing out from the center, and this time turning. So you redirect the movement, turning back to the front. Take a moment to let the hips sink into the chair and push out. Noticing these details really helps with the quietening and focusing of your attention. We often find that we have a tendency to speed up as we do these movements. Make sure you're moving at a comfortable pace. You don't want to go artificially slowly and uncomfortably slowly. But after that, it's quite often a busy mind that causes us to speed up, and we can redirect that mind, those thoughts into that awareness of what's happening within our bodies. So the attention to detail is something that we get better at noticing, and we get better at bringing an intentionality to it. These small changes within the body are the building blocks of the bigger movements. And they're also the parts of the movements that are probably the most receptive to these intentional qualities that we begin to develop. So we influence the bigger movements from the inside out. Extending, and then push one foot out, rest on the heel with the knee a little bit bent, and this time keeping your weight back, keeping your hips back, just let your back extend as though you're scooping water up in your arms. Let your hips pull you back up, feel that expanding movement in the front of your body. This is scooping the sea and looking at the sky. And then easing forwards again, very gently. Go as far as you feel comfortable. And if you can remember, cast your mind back to that spacious feeling within the body, those qualities of the postures that we begin to notice at the start of the class. We want to try and sustain that in a movement like this, which is quite tricky, but there's an intention to maintain that quality. This doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to happen. You may need to do other things as well. This time letting your hands drop down, roll your fingers into a hollow fist again, going forwards. This time lengthening upwards through your back and spine, drawing your arms over in the exercise, grasping the tiger's ears. So another awareness, another intention that sits in the background to be sustained is this awareness of how it's possible for our body to support itself without straining, to move without straining. A tricky thing with some of these movements. And then changing sides, scooping the sea and looking at the sky. Carefully with your back. Because we want to try and maintain a feeling within the body that there's space for movement. Don't think of this as a stretch. It's got a sort of stretchy quality about it, I know, but it's an extension, not quite going to the full limit of our movement. And then grasping the tiger's ears. One more time. Coming back and sitting. So once again, about a third of your weight forward in your feet. If you can comfortably maintain this posture, not straining in your back though, not straining anywhere ideally. So again, there's space there for movements, muscles and joints, movements like your breathing and circulation. And with this subtle underlying pulse, this flow of energy. Bring your weight back more into your right hip. Bring your right hand to hold, to rest as though it's resting on the top of a ball, but your left hand comes underneath to hold the ball. Going forwards, moving across into your front foot and turn, and as you turn, let the movement feed the left hand out. The right hand pushes down until it's in front of the right hip. Coming back, drawing your arm across, turn your hands in to hold the ball, and turn, transferring your weight to the left hip. And then the same thing again. This is part in the wild horse's mane. Your arm is moved because your body is moving, not the other way around. We're told in Tai Chi that the movement is rooted in our feet, transmitted through our legs, guided shape through the centre of the body, expressed in our upper body and arms. That would be for the standing movements. In case of the seated exercises, then of course the hips themselves are a source of movement, of energy. One more on each side. Your hands come to rest, and just in this posture, once again, take a few moments to just note how it feels, particularly in the upper part of your body. We'll be looking for the same qualities when we come to standing. certainly in the upper part of the body, but the structure is going to be different. So again, we have a sense of what we're moving towards, and that is also becomes one of these background intentions, and that can help us. It's not the end of the story. There's also there's plenty of physical aspects to this, but it really helps if we've got a sense of what we might think of as direction, I think. But before we go to standing, rubbing your hands together and then tapping over your face. Over your head and neck. Down to one shoulder and your arm. And on the other side. And the upper part of your chest. And your belly. And legs. Push your heels up so you get a sort of pumping movement, pulsing movement through your legs, just to activate the muscles there before we try and stand on them. And circling around. And then back the other way. Good. Okay, and then coming standing. So we have a sense of what we're aiming for, what we would like to feel, you say, particularly in the upper part of the body. Structurally, it's going to be different. There's not going to be a chair there, so we have to think about the physical side of this. Tai Chi is an art that brings together three elements of our body, our physical body, our mind, our awareness and intention, and the movement itself, the flow, the energy as one unit. And although I sometimes talk about them as being separate, we think sometimes look at them as individual things. Actually, the overall idea is that they all come together. So there's always a physical element here to do with structure, to do with conditioning of the soft tissue of the body. So what we want now is for our upper body to rest on our hips and legs in the same way that it rested in the chair. That means finding a posture that is in line with the pull of gravity, not leaning forwards or backwards or sideways. And it means having your feet in a position where they can offer that support. So feet are hip width apart. And then bring your weight forwards. Let gravity just pull your hips down a little bit. So there's gentle curves through your hips and your knees. And a spirit of dropping through the centre of your body, rooting down. And then let your hips drop back a little bit more, and that feeling of your centre of gravity dropping becomes stronger. It's stronger in your legs, so be careful with this. And again, as in the chair, the legs are compressed and then they expand, and that expansion pushes up into your upper part of the body. So when we sink down, when we root down, we want our centre of gravity to drop, and this offers the body considerable stability. It also means that there's less weight to be carried in the upper part of the body, certainly. And at the same time, it's also the initiation of a cycle of movement that produces this upward movement, produces this upward expanding energy. So this is a good example of those three elements that I mentioned coming together. We want to maintain the alignment of the body, so we become aware of how gravity is working through our body. We have the mechanical movements, the hips dropping back, the knees bending more, the muscles in our legs working, and then expansion, and that produces this movement, this flow of energy. And now bringing your hands around as though you're cradling the ball, your body expanding and contracting. Expanding, contracting. Turn your fingers out, changing to the standing version of the wild goose. So that pulsing movement in your body, pushing your arms away. Try not to strain to lift your arms. And then parting the clouds. Okay. And shake out. Now, turn one foot out a little bit, step forward with the other foot, and once again we're transferring the weight. And so what we want to try and do is to maintain the qualities of this posture while we're moving like this. So it's very much a push from the legs, that compression and expansion in our legs. What we may find is that we have a tendency to lean forwards a bit, or in one way or another lose the qualities of the posture, lose what we refer to in Tai Chi as central equilibrium. And so we give ourselves a moment of just settling in to each foot to give us a chance to restore that. When you're in your front foot, gently push your back knee in so your heel comes up a little bit, and feel how you shift a bit more over that front foot. When you go into the back foot, once again, raise the toes this time and shift a little bit. So we begin to look for these qualities of central equilibrium, however we experience them, over one leg now. So notice what we've done. We've gone from the chair, getting a lot of support from the chair, and then finding that support more within the body. We've taken the awareness that breeds into the standing on two legs, and now we're beginning to find it over one leg. And that means that now we can just begin to step. Draw your foot in, push out, put your heel down, lower the ball of the foot, plant the foot down, press into the floor and move the weight forwards. And the back foot in. When you step back, it's going to be the ball of your foot go down first, then your heel, then the planting, and then back. So the same thing with the other foot forwards. Keep the width of your step, so try not to step too narrow. It's not a long step. First of all, transferring your weight. So you can see there's a sort of line, shoulder to hip to knee to foot. I don't want to stand like this because now I'm beginning to topple over. It's a bit like trying to do this exercise on a tightrope or something. So this is a key aspect of our mobility. So this is a good exercise to practice. Beginning to raise your toes and your heel in the back of your mind as a sort of constant intention is we want to try and maintain and to cultivate these qualities of central equilibrium, the root, the alignment, the spaciousness within the body, calmness of the mind. And again, stepping in, step out and plant the foot. And then we can take this into stepping across the room. You can either go forwards or backwards depending on where you have room. Obviously I'm going to have to go forwards, so step through. Take your time. And then going back. Shake out. Now bringing the upper body back into that process a little bit more actively. Have your right foot forwards. Start with your weight in your back foot, your left foot. Move your weight forwards, and as you settle into the front foot, turn and just let that turn swing your arms out. This is the movement wind blows the willows. Move your weight back. Your hands drop down, so that feeling of contraction in the upper body, sinking into the back foot, expanding and turning. So now we have again this whole sequence of movements, feet through our legs to our hips and the center of the body, turning in the center of the body. Those patterns of expansion and contraction in the upper part of the body, moving our arms, and that movement being guided by the turning in the center, being directed through the center of the body. Good. Okay, and then the left foot forwards, starting in your back foot, moving forwards, so wind blows the willows. Trying to get a feeling of your whole body in motion as one unit. The whole person, body, mind, energy. And we can combine this with the step in that we did a few moments ago. So again, you can go forwards or backwards depending on where you have the room. Again, I'm going to have to go forwards. So here I go into my front foot, and as I turn, I push my back knee in. I bring the foot in, settle in there for a moment. Once again, giving yourself time just to feel your posture. So I step through and plant. And then the same thing on the side. It says dragonfly skims the water. And if we're comfortable with this, if we're comfortable with our posture, we may find that we're able to just raise the knee, rotate the hip. If you feel that that's sort of very wobbly, then better to keep the toes down, keep the quality of the movement. Change in direction if you haven't done so already. Bringing your feet parallel. Shake out. Now go back to your chairs. So coming into your sitting position. Your arms drop down, and a closing exercise, embrace tiger, return to mountain. Pushing your arms out, bringing them around as though you're going to hold a ball against your chest, drawing in, and then starting with the feeling of your hips sinking into the chair, your shoulders following, everything just coming back inwards and downwards, finishing with your arms just dropping down. Settle there for a moment and then feel that rising movement, pushing your arms out again. So a cycle of movement, cycle of energy, it quite naturally brings you back to this quality of central equilibrium. One more time. And then rest. And then just open your eyes. So thank you very much, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that. So please get in touch with any questions or comments. But other than that, have a good afternoon, everybody. Thank you.